translated out of the Ethiopian original tongues, which was written in Ge'ez. And within it, it told us that the story of Nebuchadnezzar and Daniel happened during the times of Revelation. But Nebuchadnezzar himself is found in 3 different stories. He's found within the books of Esdras, he's found within the book of Judith, and within the books of Esther. But all Bibles are translated out of Ethiopian original tongues, just like the Apocrypha. And the Apocrypha itself is not in the Old and New Testament format. Therefore, the Ethiopian Bible in English complete version is not the original Bible. Why? Because this version is in the Old and New Testament format. And due to that Old and New Testament format, a lot of lies have to be portrayed. For example, even these lies about drawn planets named after mythological gods and every outer space theory.
Not looking good, guys. This is hard to watch. Wow.
They're supposed to be on the International Space Station in outer space. Yeah, for real.
Just love this stuff. These people didn't go to the moon. These people aren't going to space. Tubular hunk of metal orbiting the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour, simply in a pool. All you have to do is look for it, guys. All you have to do is question it and say, maybe I should look into the counter-argument of the globe model and look into...
They just keep lying about everything, because every time they lie, they're just trying to hide God.
In 2000, this email from Hillary Clinton proves that Obama and Hillary were trying to overthrow the Syrian government because it was in Israel's interest, not ours. And you see, this devastation in Syria, we have to take ownership of this. We, as Americans, our government, fostered this. And it's caused a great deal of, half the country has been displaced. 11 million people out of a country of 25 million, and 4 million are living outside the country. A lot of my neighbors are from Syria. So 22 years after it was born in Jerusalem, the Israeli war on terror became operational after 9/11. So the purpose of 9/11 was to start this Israeli war agenda, the Zionist war agenda. And they used their agent here, Osama bin Laden, to impress upon us that he was the bad guy. So I'm going to talk about the Israeli connections to 9/11. And these are some points.
9/11 is Ethiopian New Year, so they know the exact date when they tried their plan.
To show you that the Israeli connection to 9/11 and the Israeli connection to the war on terror, that both of these things come from the same place and for the same reason. First one is mediation, that putting the idea out there of a 9/11 attack is possible. In 1978, Arnon Milchan, senior Israeli intelligence agent, made his first movie called Medusa Touch, in which a Boeing 747 goes into the Pan Am building in New York City. This is the cover of the book, and that's Arnon Milchan. So he made this. He's a very senior agent. He's involved in nuclear smuggling from the United States to Israel. And here he is talking to Ezra Weizman in the same year he made the movie in England. Milchan with Ezra Weizman, defense minister, 1978. So where did he get this idea of a 9/11 type attack? Where did this idea come from? Well, it was probably being planned already at that time, and I'll show you it was. So this is how they set up the props to, the plane flying into the Pan Am building. Milchan is a very high Israeli agent. He's a top agent in a group called Lacham. Lacham, L-A-K-A-M, is actually the very secret organization that was set up to smuggle nuclear components to Israel from the United States. And he's worth something like $5 billion. He made JFK, he made Brazil, he made Pretty Woman, I think. He made quite a few films. The movie Brazil is quite interesting. He made that one in 1986. It's a futuristic film in which terrorism happens all the time. And the nation that people live in is fighting a war on terror against in some far-flung region.
The never-ending war on terror that started on the Ethiopian New Year. So let's see what His Majesty has to say. We were thinking that it's not for us to thank our Lord with words alone, for the trust we had received from God to guard Ethiopia and for granting us this high rank of emperor, nor was it sufficient to appease him with minor deeds, and with what was of benefit to ourselves only. Although we were striving to set up a constitution that was of benefit extended to everybody, enduring forever and being transmitted from generation to generation, this was still not enough to repay the Lord's favor, because we wish to reveal to you our intention of entrusting to God the fulfillment of the task we have begun. We have assembled you here at this hour in a great gathering. Nobody will fail to appreciate the law is the greatest benefit to every man, because if we follow the commandments of God, which is his law, we get to live forever. So it's from this equity of law that honor and advantage arise. It is from the deficiency of law that distress and damage result. It is through failure to set up law that violence and injury grow. While God, being above every creature, would not find it difficult to issue orders by his words alone, yet his instituting law is because he knew that the law should be the supreme ruler of the whole world. From the autobiography of Emperor Haile Selassie. In other words, follow the commandments of the law and you get to live forever. So let's watch.
You don't know. I said, well, you know, the Catholics were actually spearhead behind the transatlantic slave trade. And they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, well, go to the Double Verses, Pope Nicholas V, and how he gave the authority for the Portuguese and King Alfonso V. You don't know. I said, well, you know, the Catholics were actually spearhead.
No, pay attention to the past, and don't forget that they were all black.
Not a democracy. The people do not choose the president. Presidents are publicly confirmed by the Electoral College. It is the Electoral College that votes for the president, not the people. Now, based on your popular vote, whoever wins the popular vote in a state generally will carry all of the Electoral College votes for that state. But the electors of that state are not required to vote for the person that won the popular vote. So, for example, you beat me in Pennsylvania for the popular vote for President of the United States. You clearly won the popular vote. The electors for the state of Pennsylvania, 99.9% of the time, will vote for you to be president because you carried the popular vote. But they are not required to do so by constitutional law.
In other words, you just in a popularity contest, but you don't choose, they choose. So don't believe everything you hear. For example,
they're not really the richest people in the world. These are the self-made billionaire poster.
Common sense would tell you it will be someone of royalty. There's way richer people than these guys.
Boys presented as the richest people in the world to perpetuate the idea that consumer capitalism is a merit system. We need to move away from the idea that all money is created equal. Money doesn't really have value. Money just kind of represents value. The thing is, when it comes to calculating how much relative value certain things actually have, the market is kind of mathematically illiterate. Lots of things have incredibly overinflated value. Like, you think the apartment you're renting is actually worth $1.5 million? Come on. Like, this guy owns 9% of Amazon, and according to the market, that means he's worth like $202 billion. But what is Amazon actually worth? What does it get its value from? They produce some things themselves, but mostly they sell and deliver shit produced by other people. They're a middleman service, which means most of their value comes from their infrastructure, which is mostly driven by labor. That's human life. Labor is human beings selling their time and energy, so essentially their life in exchange for money. Which means that the less your life, your time, your effort, your energy, your labor is worth relative to the market, the more Jeff Bezos, Amazon, and other companies like it are worth relative to the market, which is done through inflation, right? When the value of money goes down relative to the price of goods and services, that means that the value of labor goes down. Unless people's salary also goes up, which of course it doesn't, which means that people have to work more hours to afford the same goods and services, which means every hour of their life has become less valuable in the eyes of the market. And that's what
enslavement, basically. So let's pay attention.
But then he slowed it way down. And it was so slow that you could almost see the air moving. Then you saw the driver take a gun and go like this and shoot Kennedy, and the bullet comes out of the gun this slow, very, very, very slow, and it hits Kennedy in the head, and you see everything flying out of his head. I'm thinking, this isn't the tape I ever saw before.
Remember, the first 2 shots were taken from a building and they missed, so they made sure he didn't miss.
So I said, is this a doctor tape? What's this about? And he said, this is the original one. And I said, no. Yeah. And he said, well, I'm going to show you the one that you've seen on the media. Now, the next tape is your typical one where the driver just keeps driving, never even flinches with the gun. And he stops the tape. And he says, look at the tree. And there's the top of a tree growing in air.
Hello. Remember, follow God, not man. Don't believe what you see. Jagat.